What if the secret to success wasn't just talent or hard work, but unshakable confidence? Welcome to Grasp Confidence, the podcast where visionary thought leaders, speakers, and entrepreneurs unlock the mindset and strategies for lasting success. I'm your host, LaFon Gooch, CEO, two-time best-selling author, and international TEDx speaker, and I can't wait to help you step into the most powerful version of yourself. Let's dive in. From her kitchen table to a multi-million-dollar global brand, Jacine Greenwood is the powerhouse behind Roccoco Botanicals, the fastest-growing beauty company in the Asia Pacific. As a globally awarded cosmetic chemist and CEO, Jacine disrupted the skincare industry with a rebellious, results-driven formulations crafted from 94 to 100% natural botanicals. Her mission is to heal the skin barrier, never harm it. What began as a personal quest to solve her family's chronic skin conditions quickly evolved into international acclaim, with Roccoco earning top innovation awards and being named to the Financial Times Fast 100. Jacine's fearless innovation and unwavering confidence are not only just transforming beauty, they're inspiring entrepreneurs everywhere. In this episode, we will take a deep dive into purpose, grit, and breaking rules, building a category-defining brand. Jacine, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you so much, Tara. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes, I love that intro. I mean, how amazing is that? You started from your kitchen table? It sounds like something out of a movie. And in fact, as I'm reading that intro, it should be a movie.
Right? I think it's funny. I think if we were to take ourselves back to when we were 16, would we ever imagine that I'm doing what we're doing now? No. How much life can change. So, I started my brand because I just couldn't find anything on the market for my skin. They say that problems are the mother of solutions, and it certainly wasn't our case. So, we had really bad cystic acne, and as a teenager, and it really affected my self-esteem. Like, I had to choose my clothes based on how bad the acne was on my back. And I spent hours covering up acne, only not realizing that what I was doing was actually making it worse. So that was the impetus. And then my children also developed really bad eczema. And the doctors could not give me a solution. All they would do would be to prescribe steroids. And I thought, this isn't an answer. So that's what made me start and kept me going through all of it. And it's funny how sometimes life gives us curveballs that put us in the right direction. So when I started, within a very short time, I had my first spinal surgery, and my neck went, and I've had 8 since. And I couldn't work in my beauty clinic anymore. And in all honesty, it was probably the best thing that ever happened to me. Because if I had of, I would have not kept the focus on the brand and kept doing clients, being the operator, as most business owners are. They're stuck in the grind. And instead, it forced me to actually focus on the brand because I couldn't work as I normally did. And that's what made it take off. So if I hadn't have given it that initial burst of energy, it probably would still be nowhere, in all honesty.
Oh, okay. All right. Every entrepreneur better be writing this down. Growth doesn't happen when you're working a ton in the business as an operator. It comes when you're a director. But that's one of the hardest parts of entrepreneurship, Jacine, is we're the one who knows it all. We know all the ins and outs. And it feels like parting with a child when we have to divide responsibilities sometimes. But in order for us to actually grow and scale our business, we can't be the ones involved in the daily stuff. And it took you having surgery to do that. I love that story.
Yes, yes. It's I feel like as you grow, like because when you first start out, you do everything. And then I quickly learned that I got called down at once by a mentor, and I was doing the books at the time, and I still had staff, and he said to me, "Why are you doing the books?" And I'm horrified to think these words came out of my mouth. I said, "I can't afford one." And he looked at me and he said, "Are you joking?" Because we were doing multimillion at that time. And he just went, "You can afford one." And so I think it's important to realize that at every level that we climb in business, there will still be some sort of mind block because otherwise you'd be further ahead. And so for me, that was really like, it was really like eye opening to, because I thought I'd got rid of all my limiting beliefs because I came up from a family with no money. So
Right.
we had secondhand clothes. I hated free dress days. My father was an Anglican priest, so they certainly don't get paid a lot of money. And I thought that I'd let all of that go. And for it to come back to me, I'd realized, oh my God, I haven't. So yeah, so it still hits up even now. Like there's some things I won't give up in my business because I love them, but they're my genius zones. So that's okay to keep those ones.
Yeah, that's okay to keep those. I agree. That is so fascinating. So here's a synergy we have. I also grew up, I'm the youngest of five. We grew up a lot of times, at the poverty line, sometimes just
Yes.
even below the poverty line, right? So secondhand clothes, hello. And I just remember this. And for a long time, it, really held me back. I had all of these money blocks. And, in all fairness, it's not like you're walking around consciously that saying, I have money blocks. You just don't know any better, right? But they surface in especially entrepreneurship because entrepreneurship is the mirror of who you are in a lot of
Yes.
ways, right? So if
Yes.
you have subconscious beliefs about money or self-esteem, whatever it is, they'll surface and it'll rear its ugly head, right? It
Absolutely.
certainly did with me, absolutely. And one of the things I realized too is that your income can never surpass the limiting beliefs you have.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Never, right? That's
Correct.
fascinating. So I think a lot of people are listening to this right now and they're saying, okay, Jacine is living the dream. She's exactly in the place I want to be in as an entrepreneur. But they're saying, how did you do it? So I would love for you to take us down that path a little bit in that journey of how you went from that idea to then reality, because that's a big leap.
Yeah, yeah. So when I first started, like, and I want to share this, for 6 months, I actually told myself I wasn't smart enough. Like, so
Wow.
I had this hesitation. I thought when I started, like, I wasn't a cosmetic chemist. I am now. But I self-taught myself cosmetic chemistry because I thought, if I don't do this, nobody's gonna do this. And so that's what was my driving force. But I thought, can I even do this? And then after 6 months, like, I call it calling. I just couldn't ignore it anymore. Like, I have to do this. So, I started reading chemistry books. I started looking at what was in products and dissecting it down. And, like, my first product took me 52 times to get right. So I just kept going and going and going, and I thought, okay, well that didn't work. Less time than the filament of a light bulb took to get right, so that's a good thing. But I just kept going, and then what I realized very quickly after I started putting my products together, and they were getting really good results from my clients and really good feedback, was that I didn't know how to market myself. And so that was my next challenge, was that even if you've got a great product, the whole concept that people believe, build it and they shall come. No, they do not come. Unfortunately, it would be lovely, but they don't. And so I realized I was the classic technician in Michael Gerber's book, The E-Myth, that I knew nothing about running a business. I knew nothing about marketing myself. And so I quickly started learning. And so I did so many copywriting courses. I've probably invested over $500,000 in learning marketing over, I would say, at least the last 5 years. And I've been doing it for 15 years. So first I started with any free content I could, because when you're starting as an entrepreneur, you don't have a lot of cash. And so I started with anything that was free. I would be watching YouTube videos. I would be reading blogs. I would start to follow people. And they didn't have ChatGPT then either. So, you had to do this whole Google thing. And so I just kept watching and reading and listening to marketing stuff and anything that was mindset and positivity, and kept focusing on that. Reading books. Books was my thing. I couldn't afford a coach at the time. So for me, a $30 investment in a book was the best money I would ever spend, because it was changing my mindset bit by bit. So that's how I first started. I've had subliminal messages on my computer for about probably 20 years. Where
Subliminal
there's little.
messages. Tell me, what does that mean?
So the messages flick up on my computer screen while I'm working, and they come up so fast that your conscious brain doesn't actually have time to say that's not true. And so I'd been doing that for years. I even brainwashed my children when they were on my computer to say that they were kind, that they were caring, that they were, all of the attributes I'd want in a really beautiful human being. And I kept listening listening subconsciously to what it was telling me. So I've done that. I'm very big into vision boards as well. I find the static vision boards don't ever work for me. I know they work for some people, but it doesn't work for my brain. My brain, it connects with music. So for me, I have to have the vision board moving and music with it, or I just wander off in another direction. So that's what I've done. And what's always amazed me is when I have put things on my vision board at the time, I've had absolutely no clue how they're going to come to fruition. Like, I just no idea. And then literally I'll look back at it and 2 years later and I'm like, oh, look, we've done that. That's ticked off. So then I update the vision board every year. Our house is a classic example. When I broke up from my second husband, I sank all of my divorce money into my business, which was not much, about 140K. And so we'd been out of the housing market for a long time. And my husband and I bought about 5 years ago. And at the time I wanted acreage and he wanted water. And because of our age, because he's 60 now, he was 54 at the time, I'm like, where are we going to be able to buy? And I didn't think it was impossible, but I knew it would be a challenge. And we couldn't believe it. We got presented the perfect opportunity for a property that had acreage and land and also on the river with a price we could afford. And I'm just like, how could this even be remotely possible? But I put it out there that that's what we were going to get. And it showed up. And so I've kept doing that. I think the thing with it is it has to be done daily. People don't do it frequently enough. And I always suggest getting music that moves you emotionally. So when I watch my vision board, I can always be brought to tears because I feel it that deeply. And if you're just watching something and there's no emotion there, you don't connect with it. But I think it's also too, it keeps us focused. So when we're doing this, it tells our subconscious mind what's important to us. And so what I've learned from doing this is that when I am consciously focused on what my goals are and subconsciously focused on what my goals are, you see opportunities that you didn't see before. And
Mm.
that's where the magic is. It's not the watching of the vision board. The magic is in what opens up in your mind, and you start to see opportunities that were there all the time, but you couldn't see them because you weren't looking for them. And suddenly now they appear. And when you take that next step in the action, that's where everything starts to change. Because vision without action doesn't take you anywhere.
Oh my gosh. One of my favorite quotes is by Marion Wright Edelman, and she says, "You can't be what you can't see."
Oh,
Right
that's my
there.
intuition. I love that.
Ooh, right? Yes.
Oh,
It gives me
yes.
the chills every time. And because people say, "Oh, that's fluffy. Ah, come on. That sounds like something out of a movie. Does it really work?" Oh, yes, it does. And let me know if you like this. On my
Yeah.
home screen on my phone, on my cell phone, because we look at our cell phones all the time, is
Yeah.
my vision board. It's a
Oh, I love.
vision board. Yes, of a lady speaking in front of a large audience. There's a stack of money, but there's also a part where it's a spiritual picture, right? Because I believe in a holistic approach. There's a scene with a bank account number that I would really love, 102 million, bring that on. There is another scene of a family picture, right? And then there's a penguin logo because my goal is to become a penguin published author. So you have
Oh,
these things on there, right? And you see it constantly all the time. And to your point,
yes.
the subconscious mind sees it enough and it programs itself to believe that these opportunities are not only possible, but to see them when they come, because I'm a true believer that opportunities are coming our way all the time, but we have blinders on sometimes, right? And the blinders could be our programming, could be limiting
Yes.
beliefs, it could be a lot of different things. The what we're talking about takes those blinders off so that when those opportunities are presented to you, you actually are able to see them and identify them. What do you think about that?
I totally agree. I think that when you aren't focused on it, you don't see these opportunities. But the other big thing that I think comes up for entrepreneurs as well is when we do see these opportunities and they come up, then often fear creeps in as well. And I have had this happen numerous times over my years in business because we've been with Rococo's been going for like 12 years in trading for 12 years. And the number of times I've had fear to the point that I almost want to vomit. But I've learnt to acknowledge now that it's not really fear, it's me stepping into another level, and that comes with it. And so our instinct is for our brain to hold us back into safety. And like, for example, when we moved into our premise here 3 years ago, we kept outgrowing premises. And I said to my husband, "We need a much bigger premise." Now, the rent was 3 times. We had 2 warehouses that we were paying for because we couldn't fit it in one, and this place is massive, and it was 3 times the rent. And my husband said to me, "How are we going to afford it?" And I said, "I have
Mhm.
no clue. I just know we're going to." And so I trusted, and faith is a huge part of this. It truly is. Like, faith is massive. It's the ability to believe things will come together even though there's no sight of it in front of you at this moment. And that is powerful. And that is a practice thing. You don't get faith by doing it once, you get faith by doing it consistently. And when we moved in here, like we moved in and like he was just like, "Oh, wow, we did it." And it was a massive stretch. And so I sort of almost call them quantum leaps because, like I knew that we needed to be in a bigger building and we have found the right place. We haven't outgrown it, like, which is good. But yeah, fear comes up and it's very easy to have an opportunity presented and then procrastinate and sabotage ourselves because of fear, especially fear from the point of view, well, what if I can't do this? And what if this? And what if never comes into my vocabulary? Can I be honest? What I say instead is, how can I do this? How can I find the money for this? How can I make this happen? How can I be creative? Because then your brain starts thinking differently. And like every single time I've had a massive opportunity, if you had said to me, did you have the cash for it at the time? The answer is no, I didn't. So I became resourceful to get the money that I needed for whatever it was, because it wasn't like it was an investment, is the way I looked at it. And every single time it has paid off. But it's also trusting yourself and believing in yourself as well, which is huge. And when we first start, we don't. Like if I look back at myself when we first started, my belief is not like it is now. Like I've gone through, as most entrepreneurs, we go through these highs and lows. And then I think once you've done it a few times, your mental muscle becomes really strong. And I remember there's been a few times, like especially during COVID, where we were like, what if we lose it all? What if this goes under? And the thing that I told myself was, it was actually something said by Peter Sage. I don't know if you know who he is. He's a UK mentor. He used to work as Tony Robbins' leads coach. Mm-hmm. And one of the things he said is, once you come to the acceptance that if you lost it all, you'd still be okay, you'll become unstoppable because you won't be fearing anymore. And that's what holds people back, is they don't take opportunities because of the fear factor. So like us going into India was a huge stretch. Like we're about to go, we're leaving in 4 weeks for India. Massive. You can imagine the up leveling to cope with another market is massive. There's money that has to go into equipment and stuff, and it takes a while before it comes back. But if we hadn't have taken that opportunity and let fear hold us back, we wouldn't be where we are. And so it's learning to ride that very fine edge of, it's okay, I'm going to get through this, and still proceeding ahead despite feeling the fear. And that becomes easier the more we do it. So I always suggest to people to don't stretch yourself excessively, because otherwise, unless you're really good at controlling your mindset, you'll spiral downwards and it will go out of control. I would say whatever your goal is, stretch it a little bit further, and then I make it a game. Can we hit it? Like I've actually said that to my team members, like, because I set totally unrealistic goals, and they're like, but we're not going to hit it. I said, the point is not to hit the goal. I said, the point is, who do we have to become in order to hit the goal? And that is very different. So who do I have to become as a person? Who do my team have to become in order to hit the goal? Because the goal or the result is just the outcome of who we are, our actions that we take, and our beliefs that we have. So if we change our beliefs, if we change our actions, and we change our identity, the result must be different. It cannot stay the same. And so that's what I've told them. And so when I was buying them into my big vision for the next 12 months, I literally sat them down and said, if we hit this goal, how much work do you think extra is going to be on your plate? And eventually they all came to the conclusion, not that much, because they were like, oh my God, I've got to do all this stuff. And they were spiraling. And I'm like, and do you not think if we hit that goal that there'd be more staff on board? And then went, oh yeah, there would be. And so I got the whole team to buy into our next 12-month goal, because now they're like, okay, this is doable. I can do this. I can play my part. And that's really important if you've got staff members, because if you're trying to pull in one direction and your team aren't bought in, you're never going to do it.
Yeah.
Because they need to buy into the goal and the mission and the vision of the company as well. Because otherwise it's like dragging like 10 toddlers behind you.
That's true.
Kicking.
I know that from experience.
And you don't want that. Like you want them to, if we were all working together instead of pulling in different directions, everything is smooth. And so that to me is like, that's been probably the biggest lesson of entrepreneurship, is the leadership aspect of it. And, getting the buy-in of the team as to what we're doing and why we're doing it and how is this going to impact us in the business. And I also position it not just from my perspective, but how is this going to benefit them? Because most people are tuned into the radio station, as everyone says, what's in it for me?
Mm-hmm.
No employee wants to see their boss get rich while they're still not. So we have a very different mindset at Roccoco, where the team are included. We ask for feedback from them. We ask them to look at it, and I do profit share with my team. So that I want them to think of it like they are invested in the business, because when we all benefit, if we all pull together, if we work out ways to become creative, to save money or to increase productivity, everyone benefits. So they've all bought into it now, because previously they had not. And it's a complete mind shift change. And we also have written down on a board what our culture is of what we will accept and not accept. And they all wrote it. Not me. They wrote the culture of the company, of what they want in the company and the culture. And so if any new employee that comes in gets inducted into, this is what we want in here, this is what we don't want. And if someone did happen to, slip below the line, as we call it, we just politely say, hey, I understand you're venting, but do you think this is maybe a little bit below the line? So that we pull everyone back up to where we want. So when you've got a team of people who are accountable for their actions, are goal-orientated, are high-performing, generally mediocrity doesn't want to live there, because it's uncomfortable.
Yes, and that's such a powerful reminder. You can't have high performers and mediocre people on the same team and have zero conflicts and have productivity. It just doesn't work, right? They don't mix. It's never going to work. This is so important. So many lessons here. I want to talk about faith, because this is something that I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs miss. They put the bells in, they put the whistles in, they put the widgets in, all the things, all the systems, all the tools, but they lack the faith component. And that's so important, because regardless of what, religious beliefs you have or anything like that, or spiritual beliefs, it's about certainty beyond logic.
Yes.
You have to be so certain that it's going to work out, and there can be no room for doubt in your mind. The second doubt creeps in, the gap widens and widens and widens, and it continues to widen, and that's when things fall apart. It's really dictated by the owner's belief system, how much a company will grow. So I love the fact that you mentioned that, because it's so true, right?
It absolutely is. And, as I said, growing up in, like my father being a priest, I often used to see it with people where they would go to church and then they didn't show active faith. Like, active faith is different.
Yeah.
Active faith is trusting without any sign of what you have coming, but not just trusting, it's actually digging your ditches. It's actually acting in faith, not just thinking and praying it will be okay, which to me is passive. It's what I call hopium. It's hoping it will be okay under the guise of faith. It's not. Active faith acts as if it has already happened. So, like, for example, I went and bought manufacturing equipment and I started gearing up my line, because I had become the chemist for Carmen Electra, but we'd also started looking at India. And I said to my husband, if we do not gear this line up, we will not be in a position to be ready, because opportunity comes when you've got preparedness.
Yeah.
If you are not prepared for the actual event to happen, then you didn't expect it to happen and you didn't believe it was going to happen. So the preparedness is crucial. And I said, it's like if you were going on a holiday, you would do all the preparation for it. You would book a flight, you would do all of these things. You wouldn't leave it till the last minute and go, oh, gee, I better book a flight. Oh, that's sold out now. Fancy that. So the whole preparedness thing is crucial. You have to act in faith, expecting it to happen. And that takes practice. Because when you first do it, it feels uncertain and our brain pulls us back from uncertainty because it's trying to keep us safe. But the more you do it with small incremental things to start with, the easier it becomes for you. And it's most crucial, especially if you have, which all businesses go through cash flow crises. There isn't one that doesn't. Like everyone goes through periods where it's good, it's not good, there's some challenge. And without that faith, it's really easy to spiral down into, oh my God, what if, despair. And I know from past experience that when you are on that downward spiral, it isn't going nowhere that you want it to go. It is just, you're literally, I believe your thoughts and what you're thinking are a projection of what is about to happen. So if you start thinking about what you don't want to happen, that is exactly what is going to happen. So I remember at times looking at my bank account, we're talking quite a few years ago now. And like when we had to come into this place, we had to come up with a massive amount of bond. And my husband said to me, how are you going to find the money? I said, I don't know. It will come. And he just used to look at me and goes, it will come. I will work it out. It'll come. And we did. We found a way to get the bond because it was about believing it was going to work out and also actively looking at what can I do to make this happen, not just sitting back passively. So that's a huge thing. Like if I was preparing for India and I hadn't put in a line or organized my equipment or anything else, I'm not ready for it. And when it takes off, because the equipment took 4 months to order in. So then you've got to be trained by an engineer. So you can't just do it at the last minute. It doesn't work. And so that for me has been a huge part of success is faith, because you've got to act as though it is already happening. And I'm laughing because we actually just recently trademarked our company in Dubai. And then we got asked to go to a potential conference in Dubai, and like, we just trademarked there. Like, it's almost like things line up, but without you taking those first steps, and I know that sounds so cliche, but without taking those first steps, you can't see what's around the corner. Like, so if you don't move, you can't see the opportunity in front of you because you're never going to see it. And I look at every single step I've taken along the journey. It's 3 or 4 steps down the road where the breakthrough has happened, not the initial step. And everyone's waiting for, well, I didn't get a breakthrough on the first step. It's like you often don't. It's 3 or 4 steps down or 10 steps down where you get, oh my God, that's my breakthrough. And if I hadn't have done this, then this wouldn't have happened. And like looking back on it, you can't ever orchestrate that in a million years. So the faith to me is so crucial, and your team have to borrow your faith. As a leader, they are going to look up to you, and if they see you shake, if they see you doubt, if they see you hesitate, they are going to question whether they are okay. And so they have to borrow your belief until they get their own. And so for my team now who've been with me for a long time, who've been through a few entrepreneurial up and downs, like there's probably about 3 times in 12 years where I've gone, oh my God, I'm going to go bust. Like literally I've gone, oh crap, this is it. I'm going under. And Every time I've been like that, can I be honest, it's been before a massive breakthrough. That's my intuition again. It's always before a massive breakthrough. It's almost like I'm being tested. How much do you really want this? Do you really want it, or are you just saying you want it? And so
Mhm.
that's always happened before a breakthrough. And that's when people quit. And they're just about to have the breakthrough and they quit because it gets scary. And, for the staff who've been with me, they now are like, whenever things get rough, and I'm quite open with them where things are at. And the people who've been with me for a long time go, "You'll get through it. You always do." And so they've now got that belief that it's okay. She's just sharing with us because we know how resourceful this woman is, and she always finds a way. And that's my belief. I always find a way. And now my team have that belief. She always finds a way. And so they don't ever stress about anything anymore, which is a great thing.
Oh, I love this so much. I relate to this so much. That's the power of gratitude as well. And another important quality that high-level entrepreneurs need to have is gratitude,
Yes.
because it develops that neuroplasticity, right? I refer to it as my ninja warrior mindset.
Yep.
Regardless of the position I'm in, regardless of a failure or rejection that I face, because we all do,
Yep.
I'm actually grateful, right? In that moment. And I'm like, "Oh, this is great. I'm being tested. I passed." Right? I passed. I didn't go into spiral. I didn't blame someone else. I didn't stay stagnant.
Yes.
I'm grateful, and I learned something, and now I'm ready to receive. That's the thing about it. Without that test, sometimes we're not prepared to go to that next level. And, to your point a little bit ago, when you were talking about a really big goal that you have and it seems insurmountable, it's not that it's insurmountable because some other human being has done it before, but it's
Yes.
you getting to the level of person who can achieve that goal. No goal is insurmountable, folks, but you have to match that goal. That's the key. It's an embodiment, right?
Absolutely. And I've even said it to my team, like I have to embody it, but it's also too, I realize that, and this is probably a hard thing for entrepreneurs too, is that as you grow up in your business, like the skill set and requirements of a business at a mill is not like a 10 mil business, is not like a 100 mil business. And so when I first got told this, because I am very loyal and I'm an empath, it can be quite confronting. But they said to me, your initial team aren't going to be the team that take you to the next level.
Mm.
They'll only take you so far because they don't have the knowledge or the skill set to do it. And if you keep your team where they are, you'll never grow past a certain point. And I think in the last 2 years, that's what I realized was that I need the people who've got the real world experience, industry experience. That sometimes, because our business is technical, sometimes having passion and commitment is not enough. And we certainly do hire on that. But if I want to grow to a level, then I'm going to need the person who's got that experience. Because if they don't have the experience in it, then they're fumbling in the dark and they're hoping and guessing that what they're doing is right. And that was quite confronting for me because I am loyal. It's like it's really difficult. But what I found is that people self-select out. So you
Mm.
don't actually have to do anything. Like when we made changes within the business with software and things, and like one of our tenets that I say to people is when I onboard them is you must be committed to ongoing education. Because if you are not committed to ongoing education, this is not the company for you. Because we will never stay static. We are innovative, we are constantly going to grow. And also too, the industry constantly keeps changing. So I need someone who's happy and hungry to keep up with innovation and to look at what we can do. But yeah, I found that confronting because I thought, well, if they are not willing to up level themselves, then they will eventually select out. So one of the things that's quite odd about our business, Tara, is I have mentors for my entire staff. That is unheard of that I know of. So my sales team have mentorship. We have leadership training for people who want to step into leadership roles. We are doing training with our team at the moment on lean manufacturing. I take my chemists to conference and things as well. So that's not often that you see so much pro education. My marketing team have mentorship, and it's not from me. They do get mentorship from me too. It's independent paid mentorship. Because how are they going to improve their knowledge and skill sets to take us to the next level if they aren't actively learning? So the whole team gets mentorship, and we welcome them if they think that there's something that they can do to up level and learn. And I think that's the thing that excites them, is that they've got opportunity and they can see a different future for themselves. And one of the things I believe about depression and things like that is that often we get down in the dumps and depressed because we don't see a way forward. And we think there is no way forward. And I've seen people transform from having no hope to being excited in the space of 24 hours when they can see, and it's that vision thing, as you said, they can see how this could potentially come together. So nothing changes without vision. If people can't see themselves somewhere, then nothing changes, because the circumstances haven't changed. It's only the way they're thinking about it that has actually changed. Nothing else has changed. Their paycheck is the same. Their circumstances are the same. The only change is the way they're viewing it and their perception. And as you said, their filters and their blinkers have been removed. And so they're now looking at it with a new set of glasses, going, oh, wow, I could have a different life.
Wow. That's so powerful. So powerful. I am so inspired. I can't imagine anybody listening to this episode won't be inspired. What's great is that it's all attainable. And I do believe that we all have inherent value as human beings, and we all have a certain skill set. We all have a certain passion and purpose. And if we align ourselves with, as you said, our zones of genius, things that we're just naturally really good at, and dig our heels in there, not get distracted by all the things, right? Because that's easy. But dig ourselves into the zones of genius, because we all have them. And with enough patience, time, and consistency, all of that hard work compounds just like interest, money in the bank. And it becomes that goal that you're after, right? Success actually is inevitable. I believe success is inevitable. If you're consistent, if you have faith, and if you are really aligned with what you're naturally good at, your natural skill sets, and you just keep showing up with consistency, there's no way you can fail. You might fail, but you'll get back up, and then I promise you, you will succeed eventually. It's not possible. It's universal law. You will.
I totally agree. You can't. And one of the things that I've always said to myself when things do get tough, because they can do, and I say to my husband consistently, God did not get me to this point to allow me to fail.
Yeah.
I said, I am telling you now, we will succeed, because I didn't get this far to be not successful. And he just looks at me, and I think it is truly that faith. But I also think too, often we think when something happens, it's again how we judge it. We see it as a negative thing, and sometimes it's a redirection. It's not a pushback or I failed at this, or this was wrong. And I'll give you a classic example. Recently, in the last month, I was in hospital with pain down my arm for nerve pain. And we had to cancel our holiday to New Zealand. Now, had I not been in hospital with nerve pain, we would have gone on a flight to New Zealand. Instead, I was not. And instead, I was on a webinar that I wouldn't have been on had I been on the flight. Now, this webinar that I was on gave me an idea, which is how God and the universe works through us. It gives us million-dollar ideas that we need to act on. And so I got this idea. And this idea now could potentially turn into a massive, massive project, which I'm in negotiations with a company that is in 7 countries. So that setback is sometimes a redirect. And, sometimes you don't see it that quickly. Sometimes it's like 6 or 12 months later that you see the redirect. But often when things don't go the way we want them to, I have an affirmation that everything happens in divine timing.
Yeah.
And everything aligns. Like this morning, I was initially stressing because I was meant to be having a coaching call at 5 a.m. with one of my coaches. And then I knew I had to get ready for work. And then, funnily enough, he said, I'm stuck in traffic. And apologized. And I said, it's perfect. It works out perfectly for tomorrow. Because I was like, thank you. Like, so we do just have to have that belief and faith that what is meant for us will show up if we believe and we act in faith and we do take that consistent action. I believe success is inevitable. The only time that you fail is when you quit. So for the entrepreneurs out there, do not quit. If you are doing what you are meant to do, and you will know it because you can't ignore it. It is a calling, as I call it. My mother has said to me, she said, Jacine, your gift, she said, is, and because my mother was a priest as well, she said, God gave you the gift of healing skin. She said, it's a gift of yours. And I said, I know it is, Mum. It's instinctive for me. And, so you don't get given gifts for you to not bring them to the world. Everyone has a unique gift that is theirs. I'm no different to anyone else. I've just embraced my gift after, as I said, 6 months of hesitation and major imposter syndrome. So I had to go through all of those things of, well, who am I to do this? My first award that I entered, I left it till the very, very last day to enter, thinking that I wouldn't stand a chance, and I won a Global Cosmetic Innovation Award. And I put it in thinking there is no chance you're going to get anywhere with this. Just take it as feedback, Jacine. And when I got the notification that we were a finalist, I screamed the house down. And my stepson came out and went, what are you going on about? I said, oh my God, I'm a finalist. And then when I did it again with 3 products in 24, I went, this isn't a coincidence. You're good at what you do, Jacine. And so we do, I think when it comes easy for us, Tara, we dismiss it. And we don't think that what we've got is special because it's so easy for us.
Mm-hmm.
And other people, though, struggle with it. And because it's easy for us, we think, well, we've conditioned ourselves to believe it has to be hard. It doesn't have to be hard. It's like marketing. I love marketing. I breathe and live marketing and cosmetic chemistry. It's my 2 favorite topics, and I will not give up marketing in my business because I love it.
And you used to hate it, you said.
I did initially, but I loved it. Psychology, and to me, it's about understanding people and what makes them feel needed or special or important, and understanding humans on a psychology level. That to me is marketing. It's understanding humans. It's not manipulating them. It's understanding them for their best benefit, not my best benefit, their best benefit. And so for me, it's been a journey with it. But we do think everything has to be hard. And so the things that I don't like doing, even if I can do them, I choose not to. Like I got like for accounting at university, I did incredibly well. I got a 7 for data analysis. It's the highest score you can get. I can do it. Do I like doing it? No. Even if I'm really good at it, I don't enjoy it. So I would rather do things that light me up than drain my energy. And so it's about consciously choosing what you take off your plate, because I know you said originally a lot of entrepreneurs try to do it all. And you've got to sit down and go, where are my gifts? And the moment you start to get money, actually giving it to people, or in my instance, as I do, like I remember the first time I employed my second employee, I actually, because my daughter was my first, she said, can you afford Jack, who's my son-in-law? I said, no, I can't, but I need him. And so he'd already quit his job and started. And she said, can you afford him? I said, no, I can't. And guess what? By the time I had to pay him the paycheck, guess what happened? The money came into the bank account.
Wow.
And that's active faith.
Yes.
It's not panicking. It's not like, how is this going to happen? Or any of that. It's active faith, and also not feeling that fear and spiraling downwards. And that, again, it's a mental muscle. It's a faith muscle, as I call it. And you only get that muscle after repeatedly exercising it and trusting that this is right, and leaning into it. And we're not talking about recklessness here, because there's a big difference between leaning into faith and being reckless. It's going, I know that I need to do this, and working out the how later on. Because often the how is shown to us, but you have to take the first steps. Because if you don't take the first steps, you never see the how. And so I've got very, very good, and I've learned over the years with different tests that I've done, my number one strength is faith. I have unshakable faith and belief, and that is my number one strength. Because as you said, like with any entrepreneur, they've got to have that belief that they can do it, that this is going to work out, because without that belief, our beliefs shape everything we do. We act from our beliefs. If we don't believe something is going to work, it's not. And one of the other things I say to people is, you're either 100% committed or you're not. Like when you get to the point, and one of my favorite quotes is, and it's probably a bit hardcore, is when you want success as much as you want to breathe, you'll have it. And I love that quote, because to me, business is like a marriage. You're either 100% committed or you're looking for an out. 99% commitment means there's 1% of you that's going, maybe this grass is better on the other side, and so you've got to be 100% committed to it, to going, I am going to make this work, and that the right people will come into my life who are going to help me and show me the way. If I don't know what I already don't know, the right people will show up. And I love that expression, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. It is always happens for me.
Wow.
They show up at the right time.
This is a $10,000 podcast lesson right here, folks. I mean, you can't pay for stuff like this. This is truly amazing. Where are the best places for people who are listening to this show right now to learn more about your products, learn more about you, and how do they connect and find you?
The best place would probably be our website, which is it's Roccoco, ROCCOCO.com. And we also do have a Facebook group called the Roccoco Skin Revolution. And if people want to connect privately with me, they can also connect with me on LinkedIn.
Wonderful, wonderful. So inspiring, so many takeaways. I think my favorite takeaway is that anybody can be successful. Success is truly inevitable, but if faith is not an ingredient, and really the main ingredient, then it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen, right? You have to really believe it to achieve it. It is
Absolutely.
so crucial, regardless of what industry you're in, regardless of what company you have to have that unshakable faith that it will work out. And even if you're failing, it's a temporary condition and it is not a permanent state. So powerful. Wow. Well, thank you so much for being a guest on the show. I think we need to do another episode. I can already see episode 2 coming in hot for all our entrepreneurial audience out there. But guys, this is such a key takeaway. And I tell this to my coaching clients all the time. So if I have a coaching client and we're working on, let's say, TEDx, for example, and they say, you know what, that's the one I want. I tell them immediately, put it on your calendar,
Yes.
block out your day and write your script and let's get it going. And you have
Yes.
to embody that next step, right? Because you do that and it will happen. It's the people who aren't prepared to receive. And you, in your example, you bought all that equipment because you were ready and you believed it, but you were also prepared to receive when the blessing came. This is why
Yes.
it's so important to have the faith meets preparedness. So, like so many resident moments there. Absolutely loved it. Thank you so much for being a guest on the show today. And thank you, everyone who tuned into this episode of Grasp Confidence Podcast. Like, share, subscribe, leave a review, and let us know your favorite takeaway in the comments. We will see you on the next episode. Take care.